originally moved down here in 1988, February of '88, from Pennsylvania. I started working here and I worked for probably about 6 months or so. Left and went back north for a few months and came back April 10th of '89. I actually worked in the stock room during my first 6 months just helping out, and then I was moved to the assembly line. When I returned, I worked in the deck hardware area and then was eventually moved to the line as a carpenter. I did carpentry work for 10 years, and then I started supervisor training and became a supervisor in 2000, I believe. Well, I've been here for just over 30 years now, and there's several other employees that have been here as long as I have. Our average workforce age is probably around 10 years as an average right now. Some of the guys that started here before me, it was a completely different type of plant back then. We had 7 separate assembly lines. I'm sorry, 6 separate assembly lines, where each line had its own model. And after the Gulf War and everything, things got kind of tough, so we changed it to a 17-stage, single stage line, or single flow line, so we can build whatever the customer wants. The evolution from 1989 until 2019, we used to build the boats in the boats, one piece at a time. We didn't have a pre-assembly area, and now we have pre-assembly that builds our cabinetry. We cut our own wood here with our CNC, where 20 years ago it was brought in, everything was brought in from France. When I initially started here, our hardware parts were actually in skin packs with all the fasteners. Each part had its fasteners with it that came from France. And now we have, our stock room carries everything we need, our fasteners plus all the hardware parts. So we have evolved a lot. The early years there was a lot more molding and fine-tuning of the parts, and now it's more of a production sailboat where we can build them in a reasonable amount of time. Currently we are on a one-day cycle, so each day our line moves one time. We deck a boat, we take a boat to the pool, and at least one boat goes out the door. In my field of vision, probably 22 or 23 days. 17 stages on the assembly line, which is 17 days. Usually the boat stays in a pool between 1 and 2 days, and then it goes to the finishing catwalk, which could be 2 or 3 or even 4 days, depending on what model it is. Well, I'm going to be honest, when my father and I drove past this plant in 1988, he pointed at this facility and said, "That's where you want to get a job." And within a week I was working here. It was mentioned in one of my interviews that, this isn't a job, it's a craft. Anyone can flip a hamburger, and there's a lot of very non-demanding jobs. But a job like this, you're taking raw materials and making something as beautiful as a sailboat. I love it. I can't imagine doing anything else. After 30 years at this, I can't imagine anything other than building boats. That's how it works. It's incredible. It really is. It gives me a good feeling. Every time I see one go out the door, or a friend or family member will call me and say, "Hey, I saw one of your boats going down the highway today." It kind of makes you feel a foot taller. Proudly built in Marion, South Carolina.
We didn't quite hear. How many years, Rick?
30 years in a row.
In a row?